Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have Palash Soni with us. He's co-founder and CEO at Goldcast. He has been an MBA student at Harvard in 2019. He has been working at companies such as InMobi, has started his own before, Akita in Bangalore. Also, like classic intern company there. I see Boeing, I see Qualcomm. So huge experience, cool guy altogether. We're gonna talk about his background, Goldcast, which is engaging video-led campaigns at scale. I'm using tools for that already. I can't say I was hyper successful, but that's why I'm going to ask Palash some tip today. This podcast is presented to you by podpar.com. If you want to start or scale or monetize your podcast, it's also presented to you by Qualia. I'm going to take one of these on the call today. It's for focus, memory, and drive for busy entrepreneurs. So go to neurohacker.com/CEO Wisdom. Palash, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the intro, Charles. So I'm currently in Bangalore. I'm based out of Boston though, and I came to the US in 2019. Before that, I started my career in consumer goods, and I was a manufacturing guy doing technical stuff. And after spending 3 years there, I realized that the company is actually driven by marketing. Like I could make amazing products or do optimizations in manufacturing that would not really move the needle. So I got interested in marketing. As a tech guy, the best intersection of those at that time was advertising technology. So I said, okay, let me go and work for what at that time was one of the largest ad tech companies in the world, which is InMobi. It's still a huge like $1 billion revenue company. So I joined it in 2015. It was 500 employees then, and grew with that company to it grew to almost 2,000 employees by the time I was leaving. And I learned a lot about ad tech. And one thing I learned a couple of things there. One is I was based out of Bangalore, and I was traveling a lot to the UK because that's a market I used to look after. And we used to do a lot of events because it was a classic B2B high ticket sales motion. And I understood the appreciation of events and the role they have to play in B2B sales and marketing motion. And then the other thing which I understood is that marketing mediums always get disrupted every few years. So those are the two kind of takeaways that I took from my experience at InMobi. And then to start my own entrepreneurial journey, I wanted to be closer to the market of software, which is the US. So I decided to go for an MBA so that I could get a launch pad. And so, yeah, that's how I landed in Boston in 2019 at Harvard Business School. I spent one very memorable year there and started Goldcast after that.
And why start Goldcast? Because I heard you started that one from your Harvard MBA. So were you guys like assigned to do a case study or something? And yeah, how did that happen?
Yeah, Charles, that's a great question. So honestly, it was opportunistic in some sense. So I and my co-founder Kishore, we were already working on exploring ideas. So we had the desire to start up something of our own. We didn't want to go the regular MBA route of getting a job or going into consulting or banking. So we were looking at a lot of ideas, and at one point we were looking at the event space because as I told you, we had experience in that space. And I was looking at like an offline event CRM kind of idea, which is a terrible idea. But when COVID hit, we realized that it was obvious that digital events will be a thing, but our insight there, or our unique take at that time was that digital events will be a big channel for B2B marketers who are always looking to increase their reach with more engaging mediums for a lower cost. And they need a lot of measurability. And for them, events is not a money-making channel, right? It's a marketing channel. So we thought, let's build a platform that is verticalized for B2B. And that's how Goldcast was born. It was opportunistic, but with some insight that was driven by my own background. So that's when we started. We could have waited one more year to graduate out of school and then do it, but we realized that the opportunity was then it would go away in 3 and 6 months. That's how hot the market was at that time. So we had to make a tough call, leave business school and go all in on the company.
And why that niche? Like I A/B tested thousands of niches before knowing what could be a very profitable one. What kind of market research did you do before launching that one?
Yeah, great question, Charles. So the initial hypothesis that there needs to be a product that is aimed at B2B marketers was a hunch. It was a hunch from me based on my own past experience that the marketing teams always require purpose-built tools for them that help them exploit different mediums or channels. Um, the research for that was honestly a lot of cold emailing. So in the first 3 months when we were building the hypothesis, Kishore and I cold emailed, I think, 200 field and event marketers who were just getting into COVID at that time, and their thinking was evolving. And we spoke with a lot of people at that time. It's actually fantastic that so many people who did not know us, had no clue who we were, gave us time of the day. So we spoke with roughly 50 marketers. And after a time, I think a theme started emerging that there's definitely a need for product because events do need measurability to come in. It's something that has eluded events for a long time. And digital was a way to probably imbibe that. And then second, we also realized that there are a set of things that marketers need that probably a horizontal player will not build or will not be good at. And we can be good at that and we can capture the market.
Tell me about the AI behind Goldcast and how does one make video engaging with it?
Yeah, absolutely, Charles. So I'll tell you a little bit about how we came to the AI aspect. So we already had a very solid product market fit in the digital event space um, in our first 2 3 years, and then back start of the last year we started getting a lot of requests from marketers on, oh, how do we handle on-demand content? So once I've done the event, how do I actually get more out of it? Because right now, the only option they have is you take this whole like big blob of video, put it on your website, and hope that people come and watch it. Um, and it's a piece of content in which a lot of effort has gone and a lot of thought has gone into prepare, but it doesn't generate any value. So we started thinking, what can we do about it? And that's where the idea for like Content Lab, which is our AI-based product, came in. And what that does is it takes a long form content and then amplifies into multiple marketing assets. So it generates a lot of short form clips that can be used across mediums. So there are clips for Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, vertical videos, landscape, everything is there. There are social posts, there are multimodal blog posts where there will be a full blog with videos interspersed in it. You can get like takeaways from it, which you can put in other marketing assets. So there's a whole bunch of assets that you can get from a long form video. And the way to make it engaging is that there are only actually two things that make a video engaging. One is what is the content of the video. So that is something that I think a lot of people understand, but it's hard to execute. So there are some things that need to be true for a video to be engaging, which is like, is it talking about something that is punchy and can be consumed in the first 5 or 10 seconds of viewing that can hook the person for the rest of it. I think that is one key thing. And then generally it needs to be powerful to match our short attention spans. Second is the look and feel of video. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with. Most people are watching videos, we might not like it, but on mute, right? They're just scrolling on their feeds. And if something doesn't look engaging, highly produced, it just looks like a random Zoom call that they've brought in. They're not going to stop and watch it. So I think those are two things, which is like making the content punchy and very succinct and making it look great are the two basic problems that our AI is solving without the marketer having to know how to actually do video editing or video production.
I'm currently using StreamYard. Your platform seems to be more aimed at enterprise. Who's your ICP at the moment?
Yeah, great question, Charles. StreamYard is a great product. But we are in a different market. So our persona is B2B firms with more than 200 employees. That's where we start. The reason for 200 is it's a rough ballpark for when companies are big enough to have a repeatable video content motion. So yeah, and we go all the way up to enterprises. We have customers like GitHub, MailChimp, into all of those. And we have a lot of startups in 200 to 500 range as well that are fast growing and need a lot of marketing muscle.
And who's in charge of acquiring new customers, and what are your top strategies to go to market?
Yes, so we have our both sales and marketing jointly are responsible for revenue, and sales is being run by my co-founder, and marketing is done by Kelly, who is the head of marketing. Our predominant go-to-market motions are three. One is doing our own events. So we have over time done a lot of our own events and built a very good community of marketers who attend our events, are in Slack channels with us, and we are just like a known sort of media body in this space of video and events. That's a big channel for us. Anyone who attends our events is I think 5x more likely to become a customer than someone who has not. So that's one. The second is there's an inherent virality in this business. So if, for example, we have customers like Drift, Sendoso, Six Sense, all of these are marquee MarTech brands. They do events, and when people go and attend their events, they look at it and they see that it's very engaging. It's something differentiated, and so they come to us via that virality. Uh, and the third surprising motion is Google. Actually, Google still is dominant in how it like how people find us. Even though we are not that great at SEO, I think it still accounts for like one of the top three ways in which people find us.
What are your top goals, and what does a day in your life look like?
What are my top goals? Okay, that's a great question. In this year, our big goal is that we want to build out this like product portfolio that we have envisioned, which is the video campaign platform, as we call it, and see at scale proof points of that it is helping a lot of enterprises do engaging video at scale. So what that means is that we have certain goals in terms of how many logos we want to land this year in enterprises, which is more companies with more than 2,000 employees. And that's like my single biggest goal this year. How do we get there? And so it's a mix of like product and go to market experimentation and building. What does the day-to-day life look like? That's a great question, Charles. Day-to-day life is a lot of firefighting. So and it has come down in recent times since I've gotten as chief of staff. But if I were to divide my day to day, it's 20% of that is speaking with customers or prospects, and I wish that time was more. Then 40% is doing my own things, which is thinking about priorities, thinking about what are the big moves that we need to make, like doing my own thing, which I would call as strategic in nature. And then 40% is management. So working with the team, sorting their problems, one-on-ones, doing all hands, all of the kind of things that are required to run a company of 100 people.
Right. And on a routine level and habits, like what kind of habits do you install in your life to make sure that you stay happy and productive?
Yeah, great question, Jeff. So one of my one of the ways I, I keep myself happy is that I'm not on any social media except LinkedIn. I have to be on LinkedIn as a B2B founder, but I'm not on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, none of that. I also don't read news, any current news, because I think like anything that's hot and current, we don't know how relevant it would be. So what this helps me is helps me avoid FOMO, short-term FOMO. The way I make up for it is that I read a lot of books. So I roughly read anywhere between like 10 to 40 books, depending on how busy the year is, but that's my yearly rate. And yeah, so books help me keep my brain going, keep all the knowledge coming in without the FOMO aspect of live stuff that happens in social media news.
What are you reading nowadays, and what business figure are you learning from nowadays?
Right now, I'm reading Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. So that's the book I'm reading right now. But the other book that I've started just reading right now is Solutions to Climate Change. It's a book by Bill Gates, and it's a very, very awesome book about like what the future of climate change and what are the solutions to that. And like honestly, Bill Gates is who I'm kind of learning from, at least like how he's approaching what is a very, very huge and untamable problem.
Do you think we can surmount that one? Because I've seen huge progress in green tech, especially in Europe, and I think we reversed officially the problem with just the energy and the manpower that we have in cracking that problem. What are your thoughts on global climate change and how climate techs and startups could potentially solve it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Charles. And I cannot claim to be an expert on that, but I'm kind of like a climate optimist in the way that I completely realize it's a problem, it's a huge problem, and we are not doing enough. But I think there are lots of positive signs um, that I think will help us tame that problem. There's one thing that you talked about is the carbon credits, the carbon quotas that every company should have, and a fair amount of companies are doing a great job at it. But my bet, like my big bet, is on two things. One is solar. Actually, solar I know is probably not something that people thought would be a solution to climate change, but it's getting exponentially cheaper in a way where probably in 5 to 10 years it will be as cheap as fossil fuel electricity. And second is EVs and the battery infrastructure in general. I think those two things can combine to be like a very cheap, ever present power source that can kind of help avert the disaster.
What are your thoughts on Elon? He had a huge impact in business, times a controversial figure. Yeah, I'm currently listening to obviously listened to that book of Walter Isaacson, one of my favorite author. Elon's probably in my top five entrepreneurs. Nowadays, I'm listening to Battle for Bird, which details the battle for Twitter. And yeah, he has made a lot of enemies through his takeover of Twitter. What's your take on Elon, and what precisely are you learning from him as an entrepreneur yourself?
Yeah, no, I'm learning a lot of things from that book. Um, I think one thing which is really awesome about him is that he can truly dream big, which is dreaming big is one thing, but he can like make it work with maniacal intensity. Um, and have that like resilience throughout the years, which is insanely hard. All of these things like sound easy on TechCrunch, but they're very hard to do in practice. Um, but I think obviously, like I would never want to work for him because it's incredible. I don't know how people do that, but there are like aspects of his like intensity and how driven he is that I definitely want to embody.
What are your moonshots? Are you seeking a billion-dollar company exit in a couple of years from now, or are you aiming for something that is safer?
Yeah, that's a great question, Charles. And I think of it more in terms of like non-monetary impact because this is another like way I keep myself happy. I don't think about the outcome, and I've started to like enjoy the journey as such. But the outcome that I'm looking for is that given this is like my first company, a proper company, I want to make sure that Goldcast really makes a change in its market and becomes like the default product or like gets into the hands of as many customers as possible because I truly believe that what we are doing is going to help a lot of marketers, is going to change things for the better. So I think about it more in terms of traction. Now that could be like us driving that traction or us getting acquired by a player and then using that to expand. But I'm thinking more about like how can I get in the hands of like 20,000 marketers. Long term, my interest also lie in deep tech. So things like energy, climate change, and um, nuclear fusion, those kind of things, which I know require a very long term outlook and a different kind of entrepreneur. But that is those like very deep things are where my like second attempt would be.
What about creating an AGI that could possibly solve theoretically these problems and giving that AGI hands like Elon is doing with it's bots.
Optimist.
Yeah, Optimus.
Yeah.
There you go. What do you think about that thesis?
That's a great point. I do think AI will be super helpful in a lot of things. Whether an AGI can solve that problem, I don't know if we will have something or it can solve it fast enough. What I'm generally interested in is using AI to solve a lot of like specific problems in say biochemistry or in energy distribution and things like that, which I think it will be very impactful in, and that could be like one of the things that I look at next. But AGI, I don't know. I don't honestly have the expertise to say. Oh, I don't even know if anyone except like a few people have can say whether AGI is going to be true and if it can actually make a difference.
Right. Well, thank you so much for today, Palash. Where can people find out more about you?
I'm there on LinkedIn and very active on LinkedIn, so people can search Palash Soni, look me up, and then our website www.goldcast.io. I pretty much try to talk to every prospect that gets a demo from us. So please feel free to do that.